so we're trying to fit in 70 or 80 years of economic history into a half an hour. It's a little bit difficult, but I'm trying my best. I did want to say that several of these aspects, at least one aspect in particular, with the president's jobs bill, is a salutary feature of the legislation, and this has to do with roads and bridges. And another part of this that's somewhat related is I saw a television show on MSNBC, I believe that it was The Ed Show, I think was the name of it, and the host had a live broadcast from someplace in Ohio, and they were discussing the Rust Belt, and they had union people there. And again, it seemed almost like 60s Democrats. And I think that one of the problems there is that these particular, this particular faction may not realize that those jobs were not created by the private sector. They were created by the demand of government. The Rust Belt industries, steel mills, and so on and so forth, were largely created or sustained by the rearmament efforts in the 1930s. So if the Republican Party thinks that anything like that is going to be renewed, or if people think that anything that the Republican Party is ever going to do is going to renew that aspect of the economy, it was never, the private sector never did it itself in the first place. Maybe on a much smaller scale when they were building railroads and things. So this idea with bridges and things is a good one. Uh, I am not a person that promotes the auto industry. I think that the auto industry is absolutely absurd. There's too many cars. But there is a necessity for this form of transportation. I don't really see the way that communities are set up, how people could actually get things to their homes, necessary things, articles, without having trucks. So trucks and bridges is a good thing in that regard because you're doing something for humanity, and you're investing in something that's going to be used over and over and over and over again. And if you do it the right way, you're not going to have to keep replacing the roads or replacing the bridges. If you do it for people rather than doing it for construction workers or for construction contractors, so that's something that ought to be kept in mind there. But the thing that really impressed me that was discussed on that show was solar energy. Now, we have a firm that's in my locality here, and they had a public access television show that was very informative about how the solar panels and so on and so forth changed over time. The evolution of the manufacturing processes and so on and so forth, the costs have gone down and so on. But it also goes back to this idea, irrefutable actually, that the sustenance of humanity is derived from the earth. But something that might be lost here is that if you're going to continue with fossil fuels, one of which is coal, and you're going to have cloudy weather, the sun isn't going to do you a lot of good. But on the other hand, if you look at places like Los Angeles and New York City, large metro areas, what are you going to do with the earth in those kinds of places? Because all you see is buildings and blacktop. Well, this woman had a presentation on the local access channel, and she made a very good point. Look at all the rooftops. In fact, Cornell University, uh, she, her company has some sort of contract to make to put solar panels on top of a parking garage, and that these electric cars will be able to plug into the garage to get recharged, which I thought was a wonderful idea. So these things are important, but again, it goes back to how you're going to do it. Myself personally, like I said before, I saw this advertisement on television about the post office. I thought it was a fabulous commercial. And the speaker on the commercial reported that the U.S. Postal Service, which is a uh, socialist creation, is, and it also, of course, business benefits by it too. Uh, the whole thing operates on the revenue it receives from postage. So the post office is proof that the government can do things and do it effectively. So myself personally, I wouldn't see anything wrong, for instance, if the government said, well, we're going to just have U.S. solar or federal solar or something and do the whole thing themselves and make the best solar panels that could possibly be made and just equip all the metro areas with these solar panels. Well, one of the problems that you're going to run into is if you pick up Barron's magazine or something like that, and you look down through the stock sections and you look at the various utilities, you see that they have a variety of securities for sale. Different debt instruments, bonds, convertible stock, preferred stock, so on and so forth. And they pay rather good dividends and a good interest. And consequently, these various municipal funds and other forms of businesses, insurance companies, health insurance companies for states and municipalities hold these securities. And many of these utilities are generate power by fossil fuel. And the other aspect of it is that they're regulated by state public service commissions, so that when they need a rate increase, they have to go to the state and they have to go to the commission and have a rate increase uh, allowed to them. So to make the transition is very similar to the type of transition that has to be made from a wartime economy to a peacetime economy, which really has never been made in the United States. But these changes are going to have to be made because these forms of energy and this form of uh, economic growth, they're no longer sustainable. And something has to be done. It has to be changed. It has to be transferred over to this other thing, and it's going to cost money. And the easiest way to pay for it is by raising taxes, which nobody wants to do. But remember, you have the numbers to do this. You know, when you think about utilities, you might think, well, these fat cats that are laying around with drool down the ends of their cigars and, you know, scratching their ass and not really doing anything. Well, those people, I don't want to say they're inconsequential, but they really, to a degree, are inconsequential. The people that you have to worry about are the middle class people that are managers that serve these people. They're the ones that are trying to claw their way up into that level. All right, but still, with those people, you have the numbers. So if you demand these things of government, government is going to have to come through. They're not, you know, unless you got some sort of a plane flying towards some large building in a metro area, the government is not going to turn the military against you for doing something like this. There's a lot of people that are already in support of things this way, but the problem is how you're going to go about doing it, what the cost is going to be, and somebody's going to have to pay for it. These are the types of things that you, the people, have to face, rather than relying upon the Democratic Republican single party monolith to solve these problems for you. You ought to know by now that they're not going to do it. And that's what democracy is all about. It's not what the Republicans are saying. Everybody's in it for themselves. Freedom is to accept your own responsibilities. This is a government for the people. Yeah, read the Constitution. Now, if the Republicans and these other people are worried about uh, creditors being cheated out of their due obligations, what about us? We're supposed to have a government for us, not a government for businesses. Business is just one part of us. It's not supposed to be all of us. All of us are not business people. So these are some of the things that we have to think about. We have to think about it as individuals. And we have to demand that government is going to represent us. Now, personally, I've been a person that has voted Democrat, even though I quit the Democratic Party when Ron Brown became head of DNC, because I thought that I thought he was too white. I was very disappointed. You know, I see these people that come to government, and they have this drive to do things differently, to change, to do things for the people, but they get into government offices, and the only change that occurs is the change in themselves, and they become professional politicians. That's up to us. We're not going to do it by electing Republicans instead of Democrats or Democrats instead of Republicans. We're going to do it by demanding whoever we represent is going to do what we want to be done, instead of relying upon some kind of a leader figure. This is what a democratic republic is all about. It's about us doing it. These people are representing us, you know, according to number, but it's our will that's supposed to be being done.